protect the people. Hold up, no justice for the poor. Yeah, look the way we living. We treating one another unfair. Unfair. Look the way we living. We treating one another unfair. Look the way we living. What's the hope for the future? What's the hope for the future? What's the hope for the future? The hope for the future. Yeah. We have everything in abundance, but we die and rot and breathe. We pray, asking the Lord for another Moses.
Yes,
You know, we
sir.
have a Pharaohs. Yeah.
So are we on?
Mhm.
Okay. Um, Welcome back to another day, another show, talking about our country and our government. Today, what we want to have a conversation about is um, the pressing issues that we saw this week. First, with the drug issue, and then we want to talk about the rape epidemic and crisis that we have in Liberia. And what is the government's responsibility? Like, what should we expect to be happening at this time? Um, to start to start off, I want to talk about the purpose of government. The purpose of government is not to be there for self-interest, although it's very easy to do that because they have access to resources because due to their position that they hold as government officials or what they do for the country. The purpose of government is to solve problems that individuals cannot solve themselves. Um, these problems are societal's problems. These problems require a lot of heavy lifting, and these problems require that people have a lot of integrity, a lot of knowledge, and want to solve these problems. The government that we have at this time and the governments that we've had, the type of people we've chosen to be in leadership, have not been people who really care or seems to care about leading as far as being servants to the people. Government is a people service business. And that's what this whole thing boils down to. Do you really care about improving the lives of people? Are we people centered? Is that what we're saying when we look at our governments and look at the things that are happening? When you think about how Joseph Boyka is so flippant about talking about people with calling them dogs and Donald Trump is going to get you or sit down there, you want to build your country, just a disrespectful way, the indignation in which he speaks about and to our people. It tells you that what the ambassador, the United States ambassador said, I think his name was McCarthy, there is this repugnant disdain that it seems the government has towards our people, especially those in the interior. But it doesn't stop with just the people in the rural area. It is just how they feel and think about people's service. The governments that we've had and the people that we've had in government seem to want to be there for the prestige, for the spoils of what can be garnered from serving in those capacity, and not what they can do to elevate the standard of living of people. So today we want to draw parallels and connections and show patterns of behavior and choices that the government has made that shows you that people's service or being people centered is not what they really care about. They care about how this benefits their families, their friends, their inner circle, or people who helped them to win government positions. So today we want to talk about that and just talk about how we should be careful with the leaders that we pick and not to be ashamed or shy of calling out people who really do not care about people's service and think that they are some oligarch or plutocrat to be leading and making decisions for the lives of other people that have adversely affect the lives of other people, and they don't care. Our First Amendment, our 15th clause of the Constitution tells us that it's okay to have to speak your mind and to express yourself freely. So today we're going to exercise that, knowing that without any fear or favors, knowing that we're in a privileged position where they can gather us up, burn down our homes, or take us to prison, or have us lose our jobs like they did to Yeke or like they did to Prophet Key. More of us just need to continue to speak up on what's going on in our government and how we can fix the things that's wrong with our country. Because until we decide to do that as a people and a nation, the conditions that we find ourselves in right now, the deplorable, embarrassing conditions within Liberia is not going to be fixed. Nothing's going to change. And generations after generations, we would then have become another generation of people who haven't done anything to leave any real legacy for the people of Liberia, especially our young people, our children that we're supposed to be living for. So I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Thank you so much, Peter. It's good to be back here to talk to our people, to have a conversation. Folks, just so you know, in the fall, when we return to school, we will be airing live in Liberia, where the larger population is. Our goal here are both as educator, especially people who have extensively studied history, maybe other fields of, we believe strongly for any government to work or democracy to function, the people must be informed. The people must know the rights and responsibility to hold the people that they elect accountable, and why in the first place, why they elect people. So as Peter said, that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about leadership. We'll talk about, Peter already explained to you, the purpose of government. Why government exists. Government exists to serve the people. The quote is on the screen. I did not make that quote. The quote. It's the first president of the United States, and he wrote, and I quote: "The care of human life and happiness is not their destruction is the first and only legitimate object of good governance." We want good governance. So what are we talking about today? As Peter outlined, we're going to be talking about 4 things. When Peter come back, he will highlight that. Most of you know, for me, I've been on this journey since I was 13. And we'll continue to be. In the last 8 years or 9 years, we have been on this platform, Peter and a lot more people, some who have gone to acquire government position. Now, why are we talking today about this? Government after government. I know everybody, and let me say this to all of you, everybody who are close to power or to the proximity to power, they make the excuses. We cannot forge forward with everybody holding their ground. We must look at the larger picture. Okay, what is the larger picture? For a nation to thrive, okay, it must be people-centered. Peter spoke to that. For a nation to thrive, that nation must impact. The leadership must be intentional with impacting knowledge. Okay, we strongly believe, as educator or as an informed citizen, that your nation wealth, okay, lies not in your diamond and gold. All right, it lies within your population, especially the young people, your human capital. And we believe any nation that invests in the human capital, support and protect the women and the children because they are the future, that particular nation is ready to play ball, meaning to forge ahead. Now, I will stop here and I'm going to let Peter take that from here. Where are we as a nation? How far have we traveled? Have we changed anything from 1822 to today's date? Do we protect our women? Have we educated our population? If we are, what's the percentage? We are looking at the infestation of drugs in the country. And this cannot be attributed to a particular group of leadership. This is a pass down that we're headed to from the war, where it states 75% of the fighter was children, based on United Nations under the age of 18. And those 75%, 95 or 98% of them were offered drugs to be brave, to kill people. This is where we are. And they rip, no nation that rip is 85%, or no, 75% of its population. So we want to take that one topic at a time. You will have an opportunity to call in at we will want to have an intermission where you can call in and voice, maybe at the 45 minutes mark. Peter, take that from here.
Yeah, so the first topic is the infestation of drugs in the country. And as you started to talk about, Yasendi, this is an issue that goes back to the wartime in Liberia.
Right.
And we know the destructive nature of drugs within a society. I want to take a historical perspective a little bit.
Please
So,
do.
anyone who knows a little bit about the Chinese, the rise of the Chinese, would know about the Opium Wars um, of
Yes.
the 1800s, right? And let me talk about the Opium Wars. And there's a reason why I mentioned the Opium Wars, not just to tell a story about another history. The Opium Wars was fought between the Chinese, the new Chinese government, what they were putting together, and the British. And the reason for the war was the British was infusing drugs into the Chinese society. And the drugs that they were infusing was opium, not cannabis. I know we call that opium in Liberia, but opium. The reason why this opium, I'm mentioning opium, and I'm using this story is because opium is a narcotic, and we all know that what makes a narcotic especially bad is the fact that it's highly addictive. Um, so the opium was being fed into the Chinese society, and the British was trying to break down the society. So drugs is very important if you want to destroy a civilization or a society. The reason the British was doing it is because the Chinese refused to allow them to trade to their huge population. At this time, the British wanted another market to sell their goods, and the Chinese were not doing that. So they figured if we destroy the society, that's another way in. The Chinese and the British eventually went to war over that when when the Chinese destroyed some British ships. That part of the story is not very consequential. What does matter is how did the Chinese handle the huge population of opium addicts after the war was over? Well, the Chinese they were a little brutal. They killed a lot of people. Here's where the story matters to Liberia. The reason they killed a lot of people, they realized how much work would have to go into fixing and breaking a cycle of drug abuse in their country. And they didn't feel like they were going to allocate enough resources to it. So they literally just shot their people who were hooked on drugs. I say all of that to say a couple of things. Number one, drugs is one of the best ways to destroy a society or a population or a culture or a civilization. You get them hooked on drugs and they become unproductive. They don't get to grow their nation. Secondly, after people are hooked on drugs, you can clean them up, but it has to be intentional. It has to be you're going to require a lot of professionals, and it's got to be something that's going to require a lot of resources. During the war, drugs were fed into the country, like Yasendi rightfully said, to alter people's mental state to commit atrocities. This is going to be linked to the rape crisis and epidemic we have now. But when those kids, those young people were high on drugs, they committed a lot of crimes. But in order for a level-headed, a sound-minded person to commit some of the atrocities that we came to hear about, which included cutting babies out of our women's bellies, mass rape, mass murder because a person had a boot mark on his leg, or he didn't speak a certain language, or someone just lied on him. Just the brutality and the barbarity that we saw. To carry that out, it's a lot easier if you're high or you're not in your right state of mind. Anyone can do that. It's like, well, it's not quite like drunk driving, but if someone has alcohol in them, chances are they're probably going to be more violent. Most people will be. They can't operate machinery. A lot of things is off, and there are a lot of imbalances. Therefore, what happened to those people who were drug addicted after the war? Do we have a people-centered government that says we now need to create an army of counselors and professionals who are going to deal with our people? The indignation of these so-called elites or educated people again starts to rear its head. Whereas their family members are getting rich off of the coffers of the government, there is no program intentionally intended to fix what was broken by these same exact type of people. No program. And because there wasn't any program, the drug addiction is not something you grow out of. So now it's in the country, right? There are a massive group of people who are hooked on drugs. Child stealer, because he's not a very empathetic educator or any of that. Our people tend to always equate being educated to being well-spoken or having some American accent. So a lot of them believe that, or British accent, that Charles Taylor was educated when he was not. At least not in the things that matters to improving society. He killed a lot of people. He just gathered them up and shot them. And they were gone away. And there were a lot of people who are also barbarians who are still with us. And a few of them live in the United States now, who applauded that Charles Taylor just murdered people. He did what the Chinese did. But still, now the society is used to having drugs. There is still drugs in the society. Ellen came, and there was no intentionality of her raiding the country of drugs. No program set up to do that. Again, this goes back to show you that her purpose, the purposes of those people who were so-called servants of the people, was not people's service. She didn't prioritize uplifting those people from the scourge of drugs addiction. She instead raised the salaries of government workers to entice them to come into government and balloon the budget as far as the percentage of money required to just pay salaries. That was more important to her. She paid off people to silence them, like Henry Costa and the rest of them, to stop the criticism of her government, because she ran to the front of the line, murdered a lot of people, and was not adequate in leadership. Lacked the vision, lacked the information needed, the people skills, the managerial skills. lack all of it. No legacy was left behind that's enduring now that the Liberian young people or the country is benefiting off of. And again, she was not a people servant. CDC takes over. The leadership of CDC did not prioritize ridding the country of drugs. As a matter of fact, perpetuated that, right? And exacerbated the situation in Liberia. Whereas we were seeing the $100 million drug bust and the foreigners just got to leave scot-free. Again, not being people-centered. The leadership of CDC did not prioritize lifting our people up, not just from drugs, building institutions. They didn't do that. So again, a group of people who came to serve in our government who were not people-centered. The elites, the people who these people were beholden to, the people who they were connected to, were allowed to destroy our community and our civilization with drugs because they were connected to very powerful people. How do we know that? Well, the people who were arrested for the $100 million drug bust under George Weah, those people were found out guilty and allowed to leave the country. This is not a people or government or leadership that cares about protecting the Liberian people. Today, what are we dealing with? Some more drug issue. We pay lip service to parading a person like Bucky Raw because he had weed on him, although the amount of weed he had on him was as inconsequential as drinking a bottle of beer. You paraded him and made an example out of him. Same thing with Musa Belli's son. You put him in jail. Now we find out $19 million worth of drugs is being packaged, prepackaged to be shipped out the country. We don't hear the high government officials. There's no parade of the suspects. Why? Because of proximity to power of the people who do not care about our people and uplifting the nation. So there is a pattern here. When you hire a guy who is flippant about disrespecting the lives of people, a guy who was willing to destroy another man, a guy who was calling a profane person to continue to insult in the most vile way the private parts of our moms and our daughters and the mothers of anyone who might go against and say, you're doing a good job in the background. Keep doing what you're doing and you're helping Liberia. That guy doesn't want to be called Bush brain today, although he's a Bush brain idiot. That guy, when he talks down to Liberians and tells them that Donald Trump, the Liberians in the diaspora, Donald Trump is going to get them, or don't pay attention to the critics and call them dogs, that just tells you he's not people-centered. That tells you he's not a father to the nation. He's not a statesman. He's not someone who is there. He's not a servant. He's not a servant leader. So yes, we do expect him to protect those who are close to him, who are involved in drugs. Everybody has said it. The president's own son has a nightclub where drug activity is the norm. Everyone knows it. He doesn't care because he doesn't care for the country. He doesn't care about himself. That's why he went broke. He's not someone who should be leading. So yes, Cindy, I'm closing to say this. This is not surprising. This is not strange. This is what you expect when you hire or you elect people like Joseph Boyka. And More of this will happen until we have a real leader who's a people servant that looks to put the people first. So that's my take on it, y'all. And again, I'm not surprised by any of it. Go ahead. Um, yeah, Cindy, I'm not sure where you are, but yes. So this is what's going on in the country. We're yet to hear the names of the people who are responsible for this. And what's even more I want to talk about before y'all comes back is the selective justice and how that has affected the country over and over and over again. Yes, you can put Bucky Roy in jail. You can remove Yeke and use some antiquated laws and say he violated some made up or some law that doesn't even jive with what the accusation is. You can take Prophet Key and put him in jail and use you try bend the law to put him in jail. The problem of what's happening is the fact that we don't have a people serving government, and when people like that get to make the rules and enforce the rules, what we are saying is what's going to continue to happen. I was just waiting for you to get back. Yes, Cindy.
Okay, good. Thank you, Peter. So I'm going to come back here. Folks, I think when Peter started the conversation started this way. Okay, the essence of government or the purpose of government. And chronicle where we have traveled as a nation. I came back and added onto that to amplify why we're here. I also give you our background, okay, professional background, and besides just being human and being Liberians. So, folks, when you and one thing, Peter, that me, I know it's just veering off a little bit of the topic. We as Liberians, majority of us, when we come on a platform or we come under a post, we come with a preconceived notion to react or to counter. What we will ask of you on this platform is we need you to listen, we need you to process. First and foremost, we need you to be human. It's important. Okay. Secondly, we need you to be a Liberian. Okay. A Liberian. It does not matter where you are. We are all connected. We have a common thread, and that common thread is Liberia. Okay. Everything that is happening as it is, I'm not the only one who found the people die during the war. I'm not the only one who have seen the people under the last couple of government have been murdered. Okay. I'm not the only, my little sister husband was murdered last year, cut open. You know what they did? They called the people in the town and said they were jury. Okay. And by the time they got in contact with me, they have already buried him. Under the other governor before, my sister, cousin, my first cousin, was choked to death by her boyfriend or husband. There are plenty of us in the US. We hired a lawyer. We went back and forth until we got tired because he had power of proximity. So we are not here to veer off. We are here to tell you why we have to do things differently. Peter, that's the goal, right? Why we have to make decisions that impact all of us. Okay? You can be cynical, we understand. You can be dismissive, we understand. But what we are asking of you is be human for once in your life and be a Liberian. Peter, I'm not going to go further. I want you to go. We are coming from the background of educator. We're coming from the background of people who extensively studied history. We're coming from the background of women and men who have traveled the world. We come from the background of being Liberians born and raised in Liberia, come from people of little means, and being able to leave the country. And we will say we made it. We may not be millionaires, but we are not eating. Our eating pain is not in nobody's house. We were given opportunity, and we believe since we have studied government, how it functions, we have the responsibility to also impact that knowledge. And that's what the Bible says, for the lack of knowledge, our people suffer. Um, is it Garvey? Garvey said, people without their history are like a plant without a root. Okay. And Douglas said, Douglas told us what? Knowledge makes a man unfit to be a slave. That's why we're here. We're not here to brag. We're here as people who have their root, their neighbor stream buried in Liberia, and we are just trying to survive in other people's country. We're not here because we're just here. We're here because the opportunity accorded us, our nation could not. In our nation, okay, we kill one another. This is where we are. So we're telling you why it's important that the choices that we make in respect to leadership is shape the future. Peter.
Yeah, no, yeah, Sandy, to stay on the same topic, I was hoping that you went into some details about the trend that we've had with drugs in the country. But again, I think it just goes back to the fact that we don't have a people-centered government. And that's the bottom line. So the things that needs to be taken care of, if it has to do with taking care of people, we're not focused on that. We're focused on trivial things. We're focused on the cars that we can buy for different government agencies. And this week, Joseph Boycott made a speech saying that he's going to put the town chiefs on payroll and make sure they're paid. And he's going to bust during election time. He's going to bust their people to vote. This is how they're planning on winning. He's not putting in place
Yep.
policies to help the country. We have a con man, and we see the con game. And the problem is they are hoping that we all play along with it or just ignore it because they're going to say disparaging things about you, or they're going to do something to be conversational terrorists and just end the conversation when this conversation has to do with the lives of our people and our loved ones and the blood and the soul of our nation. The fact that why isn't there just outrage about the drugs, that 19 million US dollars that was found? And again, it disqualifies anybody who believes in law, order, the country. Anyone who minimizes this and have pointed out any other thing for any other nation that's happened with any other government, you're just a hypocrite. You're a hypocrite. And no one listens to a hypocrite. Okay. So we have to have an objective standard that's applied across the board. Okay, there can't be a protection for people who have proximity to so-called power. And I want to talk about power for a little bit in big shots.
Do.
Big shots and power, going back to the definition, the purpose of government, which is just to solve society's problems that families or individuals and community can solve by themselves, right? Big shots solve in athletic, we say, big players make big plays in big games, right? In society, what should happen is these VIPs, these big shots, should solve big time problems when they're really needed, right? So let's look at the problems that we have. We don't have an education system that we can be proud of, although we have so many bright kids in Liberia. We're not intentional about
Yes.
that. We have a drug epidemic in the country, whereas so many of our young people, if they're not driving keke or pan or just surviving, just existing, they're doing drugs and their lives are being destroyed because they're doing drugs. There's no intentionality in solving the problems. Again, we pay lip service. We have a person like Darius Dillon, another con man, who's saying he's going to build a rehab center. Well, just building a rehab center, again, is a distraction because you need drug counselors. You need stuff like methadone, right? Methadone is those people who are addicted to those opiates, right? It's like a placement, a placeholder, so that they don't ingest those drugs. Those things cost money. When would that start? Well, there's a whole steps to being drug free, right? To breaking the cycle. Who is teaching that? What's the intentionality there? But however, when you build a drug treatment, take whatever kickback money that you have. First of all, you shouldn't be using your personal money to do these things. This is not how government works. You should put it in the budget. You should create a policy that the government looks to serve, to serve that population on what they want. If you built a so-called rehab center without counselors, without being a properly equipped drug treatment facility, all the public know is at least the man trying. At least he did his best. No, what you just did was you created this semblance of solving the problem without truly solving the problem. And this is what we continue to have in Liberia. A person like Joseph Boyka and all these people are creating these so-called projects, the overpass bridge, and all these things, and not focusing on the things that really should matter, which is people development. You got to clean the people up who are on drugs. You got to make sure our children are being educated properly so they can compete in the Monterey River Union and the world over. We are not intentionally doing that. You got to shelter them. That means, like other countries who came from nothing, you got to build homes for them. You got to provide low-skilled jobs, entry-level jobs. We're not intentionally doing these things. And these people rather distract you or spend all their time on social media with propaganda because they don't have the skill set needed, the knowledge needed, the vision to actually do things that truly impacts the lives of the people. And we're going to continue to point those things out. We have a government that is not people-centered. And it doesn't just stop on the scourge of drugs. It goes across the board. And speaking of him being flippant, I'll close on this. Yes, Andy. Speaking of him being flippant about the treatment of our people, look at how he destroyed those homes. Has he spoken to that? Let's grant him the benefit of doubt that, it was not really about him. Look at the businesses he's destroyed. Look how draconian he has been with the laws he's made as far as jaywalking and things like vest and making sure you don't sell on Sundays, although we are a civil society. Look at the things he is focused on. It's not building up people. It's destroying people. Therefore, without taking another step further and looking at anything else, the tea leaves, if you're reading it, this is not a person who looks to take care of people. And those people should not be in leadership position in government. He's the ultimate leader, in our country, in that he's the head. He sets the tone. His tune that he's setting is saying that he doesn't care. He doesn't even think about the well-being of our people. So we're not going to see hospitals built like we should. We're not going to see the recruitment of an army of teachers and doctors and engineers. These are things that are needed to build and sustain the growth of the nation. He's not doing that. I am not surprised a person who will allow ArcelorMittal to take billions out of our country, of our natural resources, and fly around in their plane, don't care or protects drug dealers that are close to him. Who is surprised? Who is? If you're surprised, you're probably part of the problem, and you need to pay closer attention. This is who he is. This is what the government is. We picked the wrong leader. He is not a father to the country. Go ahead, yeah.
Thank you. At the 2 o'clock mark, we will put up the numbers. We want to hear from you. Let me acknowledge a few persons on here this afternoon. Then I will add up to what Peter said. Aaron Harris, my own pastor and brother, cousin Dada, Eric, Mr. Peabody, Solomon Nan, I think this bishop, Joseph Herman, Prince Double Prince. If that invitation is still available, I'm home this week. I would love to be your guest again. I'm sorry that the time you say I was in school. I know I'm going to get cursed a lot on that platform, but I don't mind coming on your platform and have a conversation with you, and to the rest of your audience. I look forward to that if you still have the invitation up. And so let me come back to you, Peter. Thank you so much about people coming in the front of the line. I have this one video and I wanted to amplify that, and Peter can come in. Today, I have a lot to say, but I'm going to hold on to that. Let me say to you all what's important here. Okay. And Peter did a good job just chronicling why we choose government, why government exists, why we must hire the best among us, why ethics must be at the forehand of our decision making. Okay, that we cannot have situational ethics. It can be good when you're empowered, then it's bad when you're not empowered. Okay, so that must be a standard. Okay, a standard of morality that Peter said. All right, we cannot move the goalposts when it suits us. Now, I'm going to go back a little further. When this government took over, I think just at the beginning, one of those days, the president was coming from out of the country. And in the dark of the night, there were another drugs that were caught. Remember the people that boarded the plane and went to Sierra Leone, and Sierra Leone arrested them? Remember that, Peter? Some of you on this line, you can remember that. There were boxes of the president were coming in. Apparently, those drugs were on that plane, but it did not come through the baggage claim. It went around where when the people go around the ramps. Folks, let me tell you something. I am old. I used to work at the airport in Liberia. Okay. So I know the airport. I was young, but I know the airport. I know the airport very well. Okay. I knew when leaders came in, how to pick them up. Most of the time, they brought their car around into the ramp. Okay. If there's a waiting area before they get there, they take them at that time. I don't even remember there was the waiting area was not inside the building. It was outside in a little place in the building at Robertsfield, even at Springfield. So I knew that. All right. So if the president is coming in, security will be very tight. The mere fact that the people were brave enough to put those drugs on the plane when the president was coming in, and the car rolled around and those people disappeared. Okay. The other one that happened before. So I'm going to play this video really quickly. So we just give some credibility to what we just said, what Peter just said in respect to the drugs. Okay. This is the special envoy to Liberia, Omil Jacques Klein. His word to the Liberian people about the drugs in the country. So after 42 years of experience in leadership, I don't want you to go back to where didn't work yesterday. Okay, what didn't work? Because every time we talk, you say this other person didn't do it first. It was Ellen, then it went to CDC. We get CDC 6 years. We voted them out because we thought that you could fix it. At least that's what you told us because of your experience, 40 some more years. All right. Now, we're not seeing the intentions. We're not seeing the actions. All right. So let's play this so we can hear what this man said. That's not me who talking. This is a what do you call it? A United Nations, the man who managed Omil. Okay. This is the dude that managed Omil in Liberia. And based on before the what do you call it, the device, the what do you call it, the plan to come to Liberia, and why he did what he did. He explained to us why he did what he did, why the approach or the strategy used, okay, to be able to disarm the people. And a lot of people ask this question, okay? So here we is. Yes. Okay. We talk about the leadership. When you came and said CDC leadership, they didn't do that, they didn't do that. We gave that to you. Who claim you have 40 some more years of experience, and you brag about it that you can do this. So we can go pointing behind. All right. Let's just say, okay, we gave the leadership of CDC the baton to carry on. What may have been too much on them, okay, and trying to navigate, and the issue was a lot. Now you are here with the experience. What is the problem? Why are we pointing behind us? So let me play this, and Peter will come in the moment I'm done with playing this. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play this, and then have Peter come in and amplify what we're talking about. Then we're going to play. We're going to give you an opportunity to please call. We will appreciate if you called. Okay, so we are able to, here we are. This is Jacques Clam. This is an international platform, War Chronicle, that was available to us. So here we go.
Their arms. A lot of people are saying, well, the best way to become a minister is to tote a gun.
Well, it's not quite that simple. You see, you have a choice here. You can either do a very slow, long-term, 2-3 year process. I bring you into a cantonment area in camp. I take your weapon away. I give you $75 at the beginning, $75 at the end. We process you for 3 weeks, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. My concern is weapons. These, you have to understand, 70% of these fighters are young children, by UN definition, under the age of 18 or younger. They speak, many of them, no tribal language that any of us know, and certainly no English. Most of them are functionally illiterate. They're on drugs. Many of them have high anxiety. They don't know where they come from in terms of family, tribe, or background. All they know is what most teenagers operate under, peer pressure and charismatic leaders. And killing is simple. And I need to get those weapons out of there quickly. We're not buying the weapons because that's not the whole process. I'm giving you $75 for your weapon now, but that's only part of the money. If you want the rest of it, you've got to come back. Secondly, if you want the high school education or the college education in Liberia, you've got to come back. If you want the vocational training, you've got to come back.
Mr. Klein, what's the precisely that?
So I need to amplify, talk about this really quickly, and Peter, and I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about it. And here's why I need to talk about this, okay? Did you hear when Jacqueline said, if you want the high school education, you got to come back. If you want the college education, you will have to come back. If you want the vocational training, you have to come back. You know why he said that? They were supposed to be, I think they did something, okay? The world over, apportion fundings for before we got here to pay for all after the disarmament for our children to be trained. Peter talked about low-skill job. That's how Germany did it. Okay, that's how Italy did it. That had a lot of nations have done so. All right, they put the funds aside. What happened to that money? Our children are supposed to get training to rebuild the country. That video is longer. I don't have the whole long video, and I played here many times before. Okay, and that's what they were afraid of. They needed to impact knowledge to reintroduce these young people into society, but get them a reason to be a part of society, to contribute to society. We have not done so. Okay, we have not done so. The funds were given, the funds were available. Liberia were giving billions of dollars. Number one, for 130 years of the existing of as an independent nation, right? All our build, all 4 billion of them, 90% of it were waived, so as to give us a new beginning. Other nations that happened to, they built their nation. Japan built its nation. South Korea built its nation. Okay. And how did it do it? They look out for the people. So I just wanted us to say, so our drug problem, okay, now it's left with the leadership And I think Peter explained to us the importance of leadership and the importance of government. I'm not going to go any longer, Peter. I'm going to let you talk maybe 5 minutes, then we're going to put the numbers up so people can call. Want to hear from them.
No, that's great. I think that you said a lot, and I can pick up on so many things you said. Again, if you listen to Mr. Klein speak, there's no escaping the pattern of nation building. So first he says, we're going to give them money. Well, yes, in exchange for a weapon. But he's still saying, give these young people, very young people, money. Secondly, he says, we're going to educate them. First, tertiary education, foundational education, high school education. This is what he means when he says you have to come back. Well, that is needed to build the nation. He's literally telling the blueprint without breaking it down like I am. Then he said, if you want a vocational training, that's a skill that you're going to feed yourself and your family and create a career with. You have to come back. Listen to what he says. Give them money. Give them a new direction, right? First, give them money. Then educate them. Then give them a skill. I have to be honest with you. I say this a lot, and the people I grew up with would say this. The Peter Quayle you see is not the responsibilities that I have now is why I make certain decisions to make sure I protect my children, to make sure that the things I've worked for remains. When people have nothing to lose, when people don't have information, you see what's happening in Liberia over and over again. It's the same thing that happens in Brooklyn, New York, the same thing that happens in Baltimore, the same thing that's happening in Memphis, Tennessee. When kids are not given something to live for, the pattern, especially kids with people with great ambition, the pattern repeats itself, people. This is why you need visionary leaders. This is why you need servants. Cindy pointed out that her and I are educators. Well, we are educators, and it's not just talking about we being educators. It's just talking about we literally get inundated and taught the minds of people, how to build people up. In Liberia, what do we say? Oh, if a kid can't read, these people can't read. Oh, they're just dull. And we make fun of people being dull, whatever dull is. When you're calling someone who suffer from dyslexia, dysgraphia, or can't write, those people who can't write, or literacy dull, you're literally calling yourself dull because that means you don't understand how the mind works, right? There are people who cannot read who are brilliant. They just have a disability. Okay, so the problem, and we learned as teachers. So when we say, oh, we're educators, and we have not only educators, we have people who are passionate about developing people, who are passionate about our country, knowing that we know the potential based on what will happen or could happen with the government being intentional. Only because we learn the stories of other people who don't have our talent or resources that we have. That's why we're bringing that up. It's not to talk about the fact that we're educators and just talk about our careers. It's just giving the relevance to what we're saying. Okay, how does it connect to the conversation that we're trying to have with the broader audience? These people, our kids, if we're just intentional about building them up, the country could turn around so fast and we could have so much. We could literally have a utopian society of, when I say utopian, this means perfect society, but there are places in the world like the Cayman Islands. They're not better than we are. The Bahamas. We could be so much farther than those people. And we know this because we know their story and we know our story. And we know what's the impediment of us not getting to reaching our potential. And we have to be active because it doesn't happen by chance. None of it happens by chance. So When this guy talk about giving people money and then giving them a high school education, which is foundation education, and then giving them a trade, but they have to come back. This is what the government is supposed to be doing. This is what they should be spending money on. Not fuels for generators, not committee hearing bonuses, not constituents bonuses, thousands and thousands of dollars. Not traveling to America and buying Louis Vuitton. To me, it's just so shameful. It's disgraceful that these people are worried about clothing. Imagine an 80-something-year-old man worried about red bottoms. Worried about red bottoms. To me, that I equate that to seeing a grown woman styling her edges on things and say, look at my edges. Like, what are you doing? You're old. Go sit down. No one wants to see that. And that's equivalent to what Joseph Boyka is doing. Buying Rolexes at your age. We picked the wrong guy. And we need to be able to speak truth to power. Let me close on this, Yasin. There is this thing in the reverence that we give older people because it's our culture, right? That I believe that the abusers in our country have taken an advantage of. Let me tell you what I mean by that. When we talk about the rape crisis that hopefully we get into today, and the epidemic of rape, not just the fact that 75% of our women were raped during the war. That number, let me explain how disgraceful that number is. So during times of war, a lot of atrocities happen because it's a breakdown of rule of law, right? And murders happen, rapes happen. The worst and worst of society are pretty much unleashed onto society. There are people who will do deviant, disgusting, barbaric things. We have those no matter what culture you are. China, you can go from the Far East to Europe to Africa. You're always going to have those despicable people that will do despicable things. That's why we have law enforcement and government. When you have these people, when you look at the wars that has happened, this is how disgraceful this is, right? There's a guy, hopefully we get to play that, from a representative from Minnesota, who talked about the 75% rape rate in Liberia during the war. He says higher than the war in Chechnya, higher than the war in Bosnia, is higher than all the wars that he could think about. Our little country, the percentage of our women who were brutally raped during the war by all these men in a society who wanted them at some point. It is so disgusting. It is so bad that to this day, a Liberian man or woman who is not ashamed of that number, it is not someone who has any empathy for people and shouldn't probably be taking part in a national discussion about the well-being of people. That is the reality in Liberia. And we don't have a president or leadership or government who speaks to that. But yet and still, these people want to have the reverence that is afforded to our older people. When I talk about the rape crisis and I say our older people and this reverence we have for them, the reverence comes from there because there's an assumption that these older folks have been taking care of generations before that, our people before that. Okay. And they have taken care of them, they have catered to them, but that's not the reality in our country. Our older folks literally will hide behind the shield of being older, or I'm a woman, and abuse and have abused our general population.
You continue.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I, sweetie, yes, have abused the generations. And you have now have people like Joseph Boyka who wants to be afforded the reverence that comes from the fact that he's older and was supposed to give so much back to society, and just say, I'm going to use that privilege and abuse people and take advantage of them. and take their money and
Mhm.
buy and build a mansion in Lo-Fi for myself and buy red bottoms and do this and do that and steal my and shield my kids who are selling drugs in the country. Those people should not be protected just simply based on their age. That's the fact. And too often we say, "Oh well, that's an old man." If the old man is raping your daughter, would you be okay with it? If he's poisoning your mother, would you be okay with it? So put yourself in other people's shoes. What I'm saying is there has to be an intentionality by the government. It is not there. Instead, they're doing the opposite. They're wasting money. They're allocating money to things that helps them. Joseph Boyka is now going to take money and pay town chiefs instead of worrying about making sure our kids have jobs so that he can be elected, so that they can feel beholden to him in the next election. So he's announcing, I'm going to put them on a payroll. When are you going to put our kids graduating from LU on the payroll? From Cottington on the payroll? When are you going to make sure that our kids coming out of high school are acquiring skills and creating vocational jobs and having this massive building project that will actually put money in their pockets? When are you going to focus on that? They're not. There should be no reverence for this man. It's all about how whatever he's doing can benefit him and people like him. These so-called plutocrats or this oligarchy that we have in Liberia, which is not real. When are we going to focus on that? But go ahead, Yasin.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you. Folks, the number is up. If we do not hear from you, that means you don't intend to give your input. You can write under here. That's fine. We'll still look in your writing. But it would be nice if you can call in, and we want to hear from you. Moving forward, that's what we're going to do. We like to interact with you. Now, thank you so much, Peter, about what you just said. Let me say to all of you, Malcolm X, who have been dead before most of us were born, were way ahead of his time. He said, every nation that you visit, that you would tell the quality of life based on how they treat their women. Okay? Because we must understand women are the first teacher of society or first nurturer of society, right? We get to carry the children. We get to nurture them. We become the first bathroom, the first chef. Whether you're multi-millionaire, you can hire a nanny, it's still the essence. Okay, that's the heart of the matter. So I was in a war, and I know what happened to me. I know what happened to my family. I know what happened to my siblings. So I know. All right. So let's talk about the rape issue in Liberia. The rape issue in Liberia is not a past story. It's not a past history. In fact, if you remember, after June 7, we had a huge protest in Liberia that were going to go on for days. And the president at the time, or the leadership at the time, came up and said, listen, something must be done. We will invest $20 million into DNA machine and other investigation to make sure we curb this. Came out and talked, I'm not going to say the least, but spoke to the issue and declare Liberia rape as a national emergency. It is documented. When you get to a point that the leadership, the president of a nation, said this is declared as a national emergency, we scream, we reign, okay? Then we came to this leadership, who was supposed to have the answer to where we are. And the rape epidemic had increased and have never spoken to that. Okay, and let me ask you this: when there is a proof that when a woman is under stress or traumatized or has trauma, and she has children, there's a likelihood that those children were already born under the same stress and anxiety. Whether you want to believe it or not, it has been proven over and over. The way we talk in Liberia, the way we approach one another, even when we are sitting next to you, how angry we get, the things that we support that does not make sense. We are not here to condemn. We are here and say, open your eyes. Leadership does matter. Okay, that's what we're telling you. And we're telling you we're all entwined. I'm not saying intertwined. I say entwined, meaning we're tied. We're woven together as a nation. That's our common thread. Okay, this is where we are. Now, I'm going to play this video really quickly so we all can see that Peter, when I testified in 2020, June, okay, at the U.S. Congress, Liberian one group got on there and praised me. The other group, they insulted me and said I was telling a lie. I have read. This is the report. This is the TRC report. I printed it and paid for it to be printed. Here it is. I know, according to this data in here, how many women were raped, those who raped them, the different groups, how the group started. And I lived the first phase of the war. My baby sister was kidnapped and taken to a whorehouse. The only reason that she escaped, most of my siblings, very friendly. A lot of people would not believe that I was stuck to myself, forced it. So thank God it was not me. And somebody knew because our mom used to sell GB and help a lot of people. That's the only reason that God took her out and let her leave. But a lot of other young women were there, and the story goes on. Okay, when I talked about it here on the world stage, that millions of people, even in death, it will still exist. It's right there on the U.S. Congress website. It's documented. It's archived. They were insulting. The reason that is Peter, is psychological. All of us are in some sort of protective mood. Okay, we don't want to face ourselves because there's a mirror image to say I am. The last time we saw Francis Numale invited a young lady for a job and decided he would sleep with her, although she said no. She made that available. These are the highs of the highs. These are the people who are decision makers. These are the people that's supposed to protect our little girls and boys. Then we come back not too long ago, Peter Jala, okay, who is a big person in the government. Okay, in leadership, who kidnapped a young man with 3 other people, molested him for 3 days, thought he was dead, grabbed him and threw his body on the beach until he was discovered. Now we come back to the table as the story came, and we were talking about this woman and her child. We were asking them to take him out of the country when the video surfaced, and the woman had that, you call it. What did we do? The general ministry went over, meaning the leadership had instructed. You know, somebody will come and say, oh, gender is not tied to the president. Oh, LDEA is not tied to the president or to the leadership. That is not a true statement. Those are appointed positions. They are political position. They work at the will and pleasure of the leader that we elected. We did not elect those people. In the world over, okay, in the United States, we vote for our municipals. We vote for our sheriff. We vote for our board members. We vote for our city mayor. We vote for our governor, which would be like the local president, where would be like a superintendent in Liberia. We vote for the different head of utilities. Let me just say the municipal. So government is close to the people. That's why you cannot put your shoulder up, because if we catch you, you tell us we can drink and drive. It don't matter where your position is. We caught you drinking and driving. You will be leaving your position because you cannot protect yourself. You cannot protect our children. You cannot protect your community. Now, let me play this video and tell you so it gives you a mental picture. We are not here in condemnation. We are here to tell you how do we move ahead. We have studied other countries. How have they done it? Recently, just recently, a 33-year-old boy in 2 years in Liberia will be considered a youth, took over Burkina Faso. When the projection was by 2030, that whole place was going to be a desert. It will not be livable. Okay. His decision, and you know why he's making those decisions? He's informed, he's educated, okay, he's traveled. Now, he's an engineer, so by nature, he's a thinker, okay? He's a thinker. Ibrahim Traoré, okay? When the word told him, we want to give you money. We run to the supposed to be leader of the free world, Mr. Trump, saying invitation over and over, he said, I'm building my country. You don't need to get on a plane to go anywhere. You want to put that money. He's still riding, and somebody will say, you know what? It's a military government. Liberia is a unitary government. The president have almost absolute power. The president is an imperial presidency. Okay. All 5,000+ positions, that is the head of government, from the municipals to the cabinet, are assigned by the president. Anybody who wants to change Liberia, that's where it starts, the presidency. The president dictates literally to the legislature, because majority of the people that we elect in the legislature are barely surviving, and they need their job to go on, so they can't stand up. Another thing is, we have an imperial government where the legislature, wherever they're told, they make laws to give money to themselves. If any of you who can read, go and look at our budget. Okay, the legislature, the cabinet, when they create this budget, okay, they put the money is never cut, the number is never a recast. They get the money off the bat. They have guarantee funds, just like SM Brussels. That's why they always come, whether they enter, nobody come or not during the war, because they're taking all our natural resources out of the country. Thereof, I'm just giving you an example. So the legislature, the cabinets of the government, the presidents, they have guarantee funds. The funds are guaranteed. After they're taking their cut, they apportion their office space. For instance, Nyomli Kanga, a loan office got $2 million. Okay? No hospital in Liberia has a budget of $2 million. Not JFK, not Grandjide, not Lofa County, not Nima County, not Bon County, not Grand Bassa County. I just name you the 5 major counties. And the 3 of the most populated counties. None of them have $1 million budget. Before I would say 2 million. But Nyomli office have 2 million. Okay? You got over 500,000 for cabinet meetings. Okay, all of your hospitals in Liberia, they're all below that. Your fire service, like every day, is burning. Got a little over 500,000. About 450,000 of that is for salary. Nothing for program, nothing for operation, nothing for upgrade, nothing for training. Okay, so we are telling you why government matters, but why protecting your women. And who does that? Who is in charge of that? The leadership. The leadership, where you prioritize, become the symbol of the nation. But let me play this really quickly, Peter. I want all of you to listen. We are almost there at our mark. All right, so nobody called. So here I am. I'm going to go ahead and play this. Where am I? Here we are. I need to listen to this man, and Peter will help us to interpret that. So let me play that. Oh, why is it not? Why is that? All right, give me 1 second. For some reason, it's not. The tone is not there. Okay, Peter, keep talking. I'm going to come back to it. I will fix it and bring it back.
Okay, yeah. I want to stay on the topic of rape and the government not being intentional about taking care of our people. And not to go back, but I was going to also talk about the Iran-Contra in America, when there was a whole war fought over it. In the 1980s in America, a whole bunch of drugs was put in the Black community, intentionally put in the Black community. You can look it up. It's called the Iran-Contra affair. Or it's called the scourge of the crack epidemic. I say all that to say how much society is destroyed. People know how much that destroys a society when you infuse drugs into society. It's not because the people are weak. It's not because the people are lazy. It is because drugs does destroy community and society, and it destroys the future of the youth. And any society that the Westerners, the imperialists, wanted to destroy, they just infused drugs into it, and that is a pattern that hasn't changed. It's never going to change. So to have a government that's not being intentional about making sure that it's fixed tells you those are not the people who should be leading. Getting back to the thing of rape, how much rape destroys the woman, the things that it does to a woman, right? And the fact that we're not intentionally fixing what we had. There's a cycle of abuse that goes on. It takes away her ability, her empathy, not just it affects her mentally. It affects so much of a woman. For a government not to be intentional about making sure that is fixed, it is not a good thing. Okay, is a government that doesn't have the best interest of the people at heart. Okay, the emotional effects that it has on women. Okay, the shame that she feels and how it affects how she deals with her partner, her kids, and other people in society. Okay, all those things is why you need therapy, long therapy, to overcome rape. And we have a pandemic of rape, a culture of rape in our country that is not being attended to. When you hear Liberians say things like, you are lying, 75% of the people were in rape, although those are statistics that were produced out there, to me, is par for the course when you hear them talk about child molestation that happens in our home with a lot of these family members of people who are in their home. This is how they're protected, right? They don't want the dirty laundry out, but you can't. The best disinfectant of something that dirty is exposure. So
Yes.
it is not you that's been attacked, Yasendi. It's the fact that they have done this continue to do this in our society. We protect these disgusting people because we don't want that to bring shame on the family. So yes, the world knows 75% of our women were raped. As I talk about Bosnia and Chechnya and Vietnam and all these really, really, really big wars, and for the world to know that the rate of rape that happened in those wars that happened in Liberia is far greater in what happened in Liberia than happened in those countries, is something to be ashamed of. And the only way we fix it is if we have an intentional government that looks to fix it. It's not by covering it up and pretending like it didn't happen, as if Yasendi is a person who wrote the report. Other people can read it. Other people knows this happened in the country. Okay, to me, that's gaslighting. You punch me in the face, and I'm crying and bleeding on my thing, and he's like, "Look at you destroying my carpet because you're bleeding on the carpet. You're literally victim blaming. Okay, you're shooting the messenger, the person who's pointing out what exactly is going on. It's a person that you much rather attack because it's the easiest thing to do is attack that person. All right. Joseph Boycott talks about he's the agriculture president. Right. Speaking of intentionality. Again, what's the percentage of the total budget that goes to agriculture? 1%. $1 out of $100 goes to it. That tells you that's a person who pays lip service to things. He's not intentional. He doesn't care. He cares about the prestige of the position and the spoils, the money he can get, the protection he can give to his family member, not not caring about building the country and spending money on the things and the people that the money needs to be spent on. We should be spending on our young people. We should be giving them job training. We should make sure that they have a future that they're looking forward to. We should make sure our old folks are retiring with dignity. Those are things we'll be spending money on. we should be making sure that we prosecute those people who are raping our women, because it literally destroys the country of the shame that it brings to the women, and how they then interact with their own children, and how it affects the country all around. If there's no intentionality behind that, again, it just goes to show you that that's not a priority. As a matter of fact, go back to Ellen. Remember the lady Katie Meyer, or Miller, whatever her name was, the white
Myler,
lady.
Katie
Yeah,
Myler.
that woman that
Yes.
raped and infected our kids with
HIVs. Yes.
HIV, all these STDs, right? Sexually transmitted diseases. That woman was allowed to leave the country.
Mhm.
I'm simply pointing out the pattern of people not caring for our people, the people without power. That's not what government is supposed to be. That is not okay that's what's happening. We need to pick leaders who literally cares about the people. Without doing that, outside of that, Yasendi, we are going nowhere. Hopefully you are able to pull up the
I have
the,
it, and I
the
can
tape.
play it now.
And there's the man talking about 75%. Again, the world has the statistics. It's not us saying it. We just telling you what other people already know.
All right, there we go, Peter. We're gonna play this, and we're gonna come to, since you guys not participating, you're just like listening to us. Okay, here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and play it. There we go. Here it is.
For Liberia is women. And if you don't empower the women, if you don't protect the women, so the anchor for Liberia is women. And if you don't empower the women, if you don't protect the women, if you don't allow the women to have an equal opportunity from the boardrooms on down, then Liberia will continue to suffer from underdevelopment. I don't think the issue has been taken seriously. And I think successive presidents have dropped the ball on this question. I think the impunity in Liberia is one of the root causes of the continued sexual gender-based violence there. And until a government is willing to prosecute individuals seriously and go back to the Civil War, some don't want to open that. I think you have to open it up. I think the highest level offenders who created a culture of rape and sexual violence who are still living should be prosecuted. And so I think we have an entire problem, and I don't think the international community is assisting, and I don't think the politicians have demonstrated the rigor to really address this issue. And so the anchor for Liberia is women. And if you don't empower the women, if you don't protect the women, if you don't allow the women.
There you go, Peter.
Yeah,
Now
so
you
Yasendi,
hear that?
yeah, so I want to touch on one thing before I get to the empowerment of women and how we are doing the opposite in Liberia, right? We're destroying women by raping them, allowing there to be a rape culture in the country, right? There's a reason why, again, that number was at 75%. That means that was somehow normalized. That number was already up there, and then the war just exacerbated what was going on, right? You talk about Traoré, and some people in Liberia say, "Oh, he's a dictatorial leader. He's a dictator." Okay, I don't want this to escape a lot of people and go over their heads. What you said. What is the difference between what we have now, how the unitary government we have in Liberia functions, and what a dictator does? Dictator just means that he's the ultimate decision maker. He doesn't really have a pushback, a democratic pushback from a Congress or another body, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why is Yeke not in his place? Well, because the president wanted him not to be in his place.
Right.
That's what we have in Liberia. We have a dictatorship.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stop pretending like we don't. Okay, the president, even in the United States, everyone's like, "Oh, Trump." Yeah, you pick the person who literally is using the power that was given to him as far as executive orders, and the fact that he could just ignore people. And when you pick bad leaders who will take advantage of the fact that they can make these decisions unilaterally, you have a dictatorship. We have a unitary government. Joseph Boyka gets to do whatever the hell he wants. He's no different than Traoré. None. The only difference is Traoré is just much smarter. And he's a nationalistic leader. Joseph Boyka is not. He's a selfish, con man who doesn't have any information, have any education, have any viable skills. Therefore, he's just doing selfish things. But he's making unilateral decisions. So don't tell me about some democracy. Don't tell me about representative democracy. We don't have that in Liberia because we know Yeke was removed. We know that other people were removed from their position from speaking truth to power. Okay, when the president is able to do that, you don't have a democracy. Liberia's not ready for democracy anyway. We're just picking the wrong leaders and selfish people to lead. So I don't want to hear about, oh, we have democracy and Traore is a dictator and he's a military government. You don't know what you're talking about. Stop. I need you to show me the distinction between the two, and how is it that our government isn't functioning exactly as that. Let me quickly get to women's empowerment. No nation is built. The reason why people castigate what happens in Middle Eastern countries is because of how they treat women. Women set the standards in society. Men want nice cars because women like nice cars. Those are facts. Men want big houses because women like big houses. This is just a psychological fact. Women, when you empower women, what they do is they lift the expectation a little higher and the men work to reach it. When you have a country that is destroying women by having sexual violence against them, you are doing the opposite of women are literally like this flower bed that you can this fertile soil that you're supposed to plant the most beautiful flowers in and grow food. They're supposed to help the country grows. This is not just for Liberia, it's any country. The empowerment of women is how our nation is built. If you look at the United States of America, this country, there's a time period called the Progressive Time Era. And during this time period is when women got the right to suffrage. That just means the right to vote. If you look at the times right after that, this is when the country was the most money, the most everything. Children rights were protected. Okay, the kids were protected during this time period. All right, child labor laws were passed. Environmental laws were passed. This is when the country unions with the wages of everyone went up because the expectation went up. When women could actually pick the type of person who has the same mentality that they have. The empowerment of women is the secret to lifting the nation up. And then, obviously, taking care of things you're supposed to take care of. How is our government being intentional about uplifting our women? How is our government looking to purposely protect our women from sexual-based violence? They're not. So, again, Yasendi, we have a government that's not intentional about people development. They're not intentional about people service. This is why we are where we are.
Thank you, Peter. So, in essence, let me add up what just Peter, and not add up, but just pick it back on what Peter said. When we talk about differentiation, when we talk about government, okay, the terms are different, but it is the action that makes the terms, okay? So you have a dictatorship, okay? You have a democracy, you have a socialist, you have is communist, okay? Under Mao in China, it was communist. His action was different. It determined the nation being stagnant, hunger, starvation, poverty, same government, same form of government. Then you have Deng, who came in after. Same form of government, say being a socialist, it does not, or communist does not mean you need to be poor. There's no justification. He decided we will invest in the people, we will invest in technology, we invest in agriculture and defense. Those, in fact, he had 3 pillars, okay? And he said, we're going to do this well. How are we going to invest in technology? We needed to educate our population. Everybody must be educated, boys and girls. Whereas under Mao did not want educated people. He wanted all their intellectuals killed. He created and he charged the young people when you see from us who study history, when we talk, you're saying you'll be negative. We are telling you, if it happened before, even those of you who are biblical, the Bible said there is nothing that is happening today that have not happened before. And it asks you, why does the water run to the sea and the sea is not full? Why does the sun rise where it rose yesterday and it sets where it sets? So there's nothing new. The other day, Amara Conan said, there is nothing that is happening in Liberia that has not happened before. The only difference is people selectively remember. If we are removing a lawmaker because he disagreed with us, it happened during Talbot, it happened during Todman, it happened during Doe, it happened during Taylor, it happened during Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. If we put people in jail, it been happening. Okay, so everything is the same. Now, why am I saying this? When Mao put those in place, not Mao, but Deng put in those place, it built up, and then Xi Jinping came and changed it and amplified. Okay, use the taxes of the nation or the wealth of the nation, take the money, okay, and make education competitive. The best brains get to go to the best university. Those who do not apply themselves up to high school level, they go into training that they can live off of. Okay, their geniuses become scientists and developers. Okay, it did not matter their gender, whether they were women or female. Let me give you a common example. Years back, the Chinese government contacted the American government and said, you know what, we want to join you on the space discovery at NASA. We want a partnership with you. They said no. China went home, invested heavily. What took America almost 50 years to build, it took them 1 year to build. They were very intentional. Remember, every time Peter speaks, he talks about intentionality. Intentionality, okay? You must be intentional. Not just intentional. You should be willing, because that intention has attributes, plan, policy, or guidance that guide those intentions. You must be able to roll up your sleeves. You must lead by example. Okay? So we have a few more minutes. I don't want to take all the time. Peter explained a lot more. You know, I get excited. So I want Peter to come in. Intention does not just mean good intention or bad intention. What do you do with the intention is what is important as the leader. Peter also amplified the difference between Traoré and the Liberian government. And I talked about functionality of government. Saudi Arabia is a monarchy. Okay, when the king now said, in 5 years, I want my country to be different. For almost hundreds of years, there was a desert kingdom. They had nothing. They rode around, we call it semi-nomadic. They moved from place to place where they could find water. And then man said, listen, we will invest in here. We found oil. And we know oil is finite. So what do we need to do? We want to get the best brain to come into our country to train our children. This is the timeline. We want to build our nation that our people can live. 5-year max, because we don't know how long this oil is going to last. Okay? That's leadership. Although it's a dictatorship, because a monarchy is a dictatorship or autocracy, whatever you want to call it, same function. Whatever the king declares is absolute. Nobody can go against the king. But guess what? The king decided he would put his hand down when it comes to the market. The king decided they're gonna diversify the economy. How do they do that? Meaning they were not gonna, how do I say it the simplest way? They're not gonna depend only on their oil. They will create a market for tourism. And in tourism, what do you need? You need hotel for people to sleep in. You need attraction. Okay, you will need, and that will bring in money. You will need places. Attraction is not just places to go, a building to look at. Hotels, restaurants, those are jobs. The service industry. In America, service industry account for almost 35% to 45% of the jobs creation in here. Okay. New Georgia, thank you for joining us, sir. Okay. Then he said, what's the next thing we're going to do? For all of this to come to bear, we must educate our population. Our population must be bilingual, because our target audience is not just people who speak Arabic. It have to be people who speak English. It have to be people. He look at the different economy where he think people have purchasing power that will come in, that will make the sacrifice to come to that place. So they started building around it. So what do you call it? Saudi Arabia does not have gold under their soil. They started importing gold. People like gold. They make it seem that they have gold. Okay. But I will stop here and I'm going to come to Peter. Peter will end, then I'll end, and then we'll take that from there.
Yeah, so yeah, Cindy, again, thanks for this conversation. We need to continue to have this conversation about our country. Anyone who has pride in Liberia, and so many of us do, and so passionate, must understand nothing is going to happen by chance. We show historical references and we talk about why the drug thing, why are you talking about China? Why are you talking about South Korea? Because the point is, everything that's happening now, there's a reason for it, there's a purpose, and there's a link, and we can learn from other people. This is why you study history. So it's not just to tell stories. When we look at Liberia, here's what needs to happen. And here's the theme of what we're going to continue to talk about. We must be intentional about human development. Anyone who cares for our country, loves our country, has to understand that we must pick a leader who understands human development has to be paramount. We must protect our women. That is first and foremost. We must do that. We have to take the money that we've been spent on overpass bridges, generators, scholarship funds for government officials, plane trips, all these frivolous things, and invest it in the people. And invest it in the people. We must look at our people as our greatest resource. You talk about Saudi Arabia, a desert place that nobody, if you're judging Saudi Arabia by being an agriculture society, then you would think that country has no value. Look at Las Vegas, desert. Look at Israel, desert. Desalination plants. They literally took money and invested in taking seawater and turn it into drinking water. Without that, that costs billions of dollars. They didn't take that to go build roads first. Let's first get water. Las Vegas, same thing. Dry places. They turn that into places that very arid places were turned to places where you could grow things. These people were intentional about what they wanted and needed. We need to take care of our people. We need to have steady electricity. Let's take our money and build a dam. Let's spend billions on that so that we can have some form of power that we can actually look at. Our country can be looked at as a place where people might want to bring manufacturing or might want to bring the AI networks. We have to have a visionary for a leader. We can't keep electing primitive old con men so that they can weasel their way around to remain in power while everybody suffers. If you love Liberia, you should be just as passionate as I am about the fact that we are not where we belong. We should be so much farther ahead by now. Okay, we gotta empower our people economically. Once you do that, you educate the people, you empower them economically, and then you could tax the people. Then you could tax the people, turn them into workers. This is why in the United States, the jobs number can doom a politician, a president. How many jobs did you create? We need to have policy debates and force the government or the conversation to be elevated. We got to give people jobs. And then once they have jobs, you can tax them. They become workers for the state. And this is how you get money. We must get them to compete with the foreigners. The reason we don't want to do that is because the foreigners have monopolies, and because they have monopolies, they're paying off a government official. We must create new type of leaders with new skill set that aren't beholden to people who are in our country to exploit us and extract our resources, our finite resources that might run out sooner or later. If those things are not important to you, then you shouldn't be taking part in this public discourse. Let's have a policy debate. We got to educate our kids. We got to recruit an army of doctors and engineers. We got to open STEM schools. We got to provide a housing for our people and not break down their homes. We got to protect free speech and free expression, because what it does is it forces accountability. It forces accountability to the government. We got to make sure those things happen. The rules and the regulations in our constitutions were written by very, very smart men. Successful, and this is how countries become successful, when we follow those rules. We can have rules that apply to different people at different circumstances. That is not a government. Okay? That is not a government. And this is what we have now. We have chaos. The country is not growing. The reason we have zinc houses everywhere is not because there are not builders. You cannot go get a foreigner to come to Liberia to build our homes so the money can be taken out the country some more. Everything we're doing is backwards, because the people who ran to the front of the line to lead did not study how countries were built. We must have humble leaders, not a leader that talks down to the people and dismiss them as barking dogs. Not a leader who was accused of rape. That means a person who lacks empathy. You pick that type of person to lead, you're going to have what you have now. Not a leader who will protect people who are infusing drugs into our country and destroying our future and our people. We must pick leaders who are going to serve like a caring father or a nurturing mother, not just someone who wants to lead. We got to get rid of these career politicians. They have never worked for us. Start looking to different sets of experiences. And we must, let me close on this, y'all. We must be very intentional about the conversation that's being had. And we must speak truth to power. Stop being afraid that they're going to call you names and call you this and say you did this. And it doesn't matter. Those are the honest tricks that they have. We got to add our voices. If we really truly care about our country and we have pride in our country, the way things are right now is not it. And those people are not going to just walk away because their lives, the con men and the con artists and these extractors, their lives depend on it. They're going to throw everything at you. But you got to start the conversation, and we got to get a whole new set of people, whole new set of leaders with different set of experience. Thank you so much for this opportunity again to have this conversation about our country, Cindy, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Thank you so much, Peter. Great show. Thank you. And folks, this is how we end the day. You heard Peter, intentionality. How does that work? Half of Ghana, he talked about policy. We hear that word flying all over the place to everybody. Policy. What does that mean? Policy is simply your principle, rules, or guideline that guides your decision. What are the principle and rules that guide our plan or decision? What is the plan that guide our decision? Where are we headed? Where do we want to be as a nation in the next 2 years? You know, I hear people 6 years is not enough. 6 years is a lot. If a child was 12 years old in 6 years, that child would be an adult. If a child is born in 6 years, that child would be in first grade, at least if the teens be equal. If somebody is 20 years old and you take over in 6 years, it will be 26 years old. For women, that's the full development age. That for young men, that's your whole frontal would have developed. Okay, in 6 years, that child should be able to contribute to the society. So 6 years is a long time. The United States, with over 340 million people, president have 4 years. If you do not perform within that 4 years, we kick you out. If you do not create a job, you do not add up to the economy, we kick you out. And we do not give you another chance. Sometimes we give you another chance. We did that with Trump. See where we are. Okay, so we talk about the fund of government. Funds of government does matter, but the action of the leadership does matter, especially in a place like a unitary government, a dictatorship, a military government. We give you references. So when we are talking, we're not talking about this is not this time to look at different form of leadership and do away with career politician. Okay, and that's what we're talking to you about. Most of you know and know you're going to say that, yes, I do support Alexander Cummings because he have record. He have record of being ethical. He have record of not being selected. He has record of being audited many times for a multinational company. He has a record of sustainability. He built acts in his honor to have a STEM school. You could have just build a library. You could have said, you know what, you're giving me the money, I can build a place right here in America and leave it at that. He said, build it in my country. Okay. And he have been able to carry that organization, the Cummings Foundation in Liberia, that have been educating young people in STEM. Okay. STEM is what? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Okay. And math. He has a trade school in Brewerville. Okay. I had an opportunity to see. And we went to him. And I think this is not a matter of trial. It would be a matter of performance, because we are seeing that he performs and make no excuses. Even when he lost the election and some of us were mad, he said, I'm the leader. I take responsibility. There's certain things I should have done, I have not done. Now, let's look at these people. Let's look at Cummings. Let's look at Tiawan Gonklo. Let's look at people who have record of standing tall, or making a difference, running an organization and sustaining it. Okay, Liberia has almost 6 million people. But to end, I have 2 minutes here. Let me tell you something. When we talk about being intentional, we're seeing Team We Are perform in America. Team We Are father were in America, were in Europe, were playing football. He put in the time before Hepa became president, right after Hepa became president. Okay, Hepa was quiet. He was working, making a sacrifice, going to the practice, making sure he was competitive. And today he playing for the US government or the country. And we're proud of him. And I know some of you came on your platform yesterday and yelling, oh, T is going to be not playing, we're going to watch. And listen, you may have problem with his father. That's your problem. But he is our child. And he did not get to where he got to because his father was in government. That child was already earning on his own, giving the credit for his hard work, for his intention, for his sacrifices. Then you got Alfonso Davis, a baby, a refugee that the nation invested in. He showed his talent, were willing to do the sacrifice, to do the hard work, and his nation were willing to stand behind. The first, the youngest in FIFA as a captain, stand up for that, be joyous for that. His parents have not taken from Liberia. They ran away just like the rest of us. And a country that knows how to invest in is the human capital invested in him. Then you got Haji Wright, mother Liberian, father Ghanaian, right here in America. We got 2 of our children are playing. And how can you be joyous? Because maybe they didn't put them on the field. It's a team. Those of us who live in America, we understand what a team is. The team does not mean if I play and you don't play, you are not part of the team. The team is we are together. One win is everyone win. We're running for the country. It does not matter who goes in first. It does not matter who sits on the sideline. It matters. The end result, it was matter. And one thing we need to disabuse ourselves of Liberian. Instead of running to the front line and insulting people, what we need to do is the best among us to lead us. So all of us can fit under the team, the 10. So everybody can have food to eat. So our children who are orphaned cannot be in the street selling, cannot be vulnerable to being raped, cannot be beaten, abused, that there's a place for them. Even when the parents are not alive in the United States, when you're underage and one of your parents die or your parent die, they gave you Social Security for the surviving parent for you to live off of. They gave you food stamp. Sometimes they gave you house, okay? Housing allowance, so you can go, because we believe, don't mind what is happening in America, there's a lot going on. But I'm going to stop here. Our time is finished. I want to say thank you. And I want to start briefly and say to, I was one of those people that are very critical on Jefferson Koji. And I say I am. And I want to say to Koji, congratulations. That's what we have said all along. Congratulations. But it's a story that we talk by myself. I want to say thank you so much for all of you who tune in. God bless you for tuning in. Please do me a favor. Please share the video. Please go on our page. Second Touch is our biggest page. Okay. Let's create a community. Like it, share with your friends, share in your group, and say, follow this page. We're here to educate. We're here to show you why you as a citizen, you as a human being, why the survival of our nation depends on the young people, the women. Not that the men are not important. The men are already in charge. That's what it is important. I want to say thank you so much. Happy Saturday. I can talk better. Last week, you'll bear with me. Peter did most of the talking. I want to say thank you to Peter because I was sick. I had a major operation last week. I was in a lot of pain. When you saw me here, I was medicated. Yes, I didn't have to take a lot today, but I want to say thank you. Those of you who check on me, I want to say thank you. Those of you who miss me, didn't see me, and still didn't inbox me, say thank you. You know I will not. I know I'm visible, like writing, and not talking. But I want to say thank you. So that said, let's play Quincy B and see where we are. Let's close up with Quincy B. Okay, thank you so much. I passed my time. We started a little bit late, but that's okay.
Get richer and the poor people suffer. Them promise say, them bring development and better education. Our lands are fertile, no food on the land. Our children, we're pushing into begging. Look the way we're living, we're treating one another unfair. Look the way we're living, we're treating one another unfair. What's the hope for the future?